Recently, the Pokemon Company announced Pokemon Legends ZA, a game set in the Kalos region. In this trailer, they teased the return of Mega Evolution, a feature that takes your Pokemon to the peak of performance. The Pokemon community is all thinking, what new Mega Pokemon are they going to reveal? I decided to use facts, statistics, and trends to determine the 13 Pokemon I believe are going to get Mega Forms in the new game. If you guys enjoy, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know who you want to get a Mega Form. First things first, let's all remember that this is all for fun and is in no way indicative of what's actually going to happen. In all likelihood, Game Freak's gonna all meet in a boardroom and decide, hey, this Pokemon's pretty cool, let's give him a new form. But these are the ones that when I look at it and I say, these guys have Mega Forms, these guys have this, these guys have that, these are the ones that I think are most likely. I came up with a number of criteria that I will use to eliminate Pokemon from the 1,025 that we have down to our last 13. And I use 13 as a relatively arbitrary number, but I'll explain all that later. There's currently 1,025 Pokemon in existence, so in order to determine who's gonna get a Mega, we have to first pick out those who already have one, as well as the Pokemon that are definitely not gonna get Mega Forms, the unevolved ones. With some rare exceptions that I'll mention in a moment, we can immediately cut our list from 1,025 to 584, a little over half of the total Pokemon. Next, we must remove every single Pokemon who has received one or more of a Mega, Exclusive Z move, Gigantamax, or Regional form, which is going to cut us down to 399. Now, I know that isn't entirely foolproof considering Pikachu got a Z move and a Gigantamax form, and Charizard has a Mega and a Gigantamax, but I think for the sake of simplicity, it's easiest to just say any Pokemon who has something is not going to get something in this new game. The next criteria is that in Pokemon Legends Arceus, there were no Pokemon from newer than Generation 4 in the game, with the exception of the couple of regional forms that we got in Hisui, like Hisuian Gudra and Basculegion. If this trend were to continue, it would mean that the only Pokemon we're getting in this game would be Gen 6 or earlier. Except for a few regional forms which could be from newer generations, Gen 7, 8, or 9, but that feels relatively impossible to predict. I could have sat there for hours predicting Pokemon that I thought were going to get a new evolution in Legends Arceus, and I would have never come up with Stantler. Additionally, every Pokemon in Legends Arceus was acquirable in some way in Generation 4. So I'm going to follow that trend, and I'm going to declare that any Pokemon not in the X and Y Kalos regional dex, not the national dex, just the regional dex, is thereby ineligible. With that, we are left with 18 Kanto, 24 Johto, 31 Hoenn, 26 Sinnoh, 33 Unova, and 34 Kalosian Pokemon. At this point, we need to start identifying criteria with which we can eliminate Pokemon that don't fit our standards. First and foremost, if a Pokemon has a gender or color variation, a split evolution, or is a part of a counterpart family, I'm going to eliminate it, considering you can't really have one without having the other. The only notable exception to this rule with Mega Pokemon is, of course, Slowbro, who has a Mega form. So this is going to remove Pokemon like Vivillon, Rotom, the Simimonkeys, and all the evolutions. Second, if a Pokemon has a distinct gimmick, they're also going to be removed. So through this, we are going to lose Ditto, Wobbuffet, Smeargle, and Kecleon. Despite having 3 Mega Pokemon with a normal base stat total of below 410, I am going to set that as a cutoff for a Pokemon that would be eligible. Mawile and Medicham both fall under this list, and they have huge power and pure power, so their stats are a little misleading. When Beedrill Mega evolves, its stats go through the roof, so it felt like it was okay because they didn't give him any stats anywhere else, and Sableye they actually kind of nerfed with a Mega. They really just gave him Prankster, and that's all they did for him. So through this, we are going to lose Luvdisc, Ledian, Delcatty, Pachirisu, and Bibarel, and I'm going to throw in Chatot as well. It has a base stat total of 411, but he's kind of a gimmick as well, and you can only be so lucky for so long, so Chatot is gone too. One thing Mega Pokemon cannot do is increase their HP when they Mega Evolve. And no Mega Pokemon has an HP lower than 50, so sorry Cloyster and Shuckle, but you are now out. Next, we can remove all the Route 1 normal type Pokemon. And you might be sitting there thinking, but Lopunny has a Mega, which is true, until you remember that Lopunny is not the Route 1 normal type. So sorry, Furret and Watchhog, you have to take Mightyena with you, and it is basically a Route 1 normal type. It's just a dark type. As an addendum, when I was making these graphics that you're seeing on the screen, I did forget to include Liepard in that, and it's really hard to go back and change all that. So let's just pretend that it's blacked out. And now our last criteria for this section is we're going to take out our Pikachu clones. So we're going to cut our numbers all the way down to 97 remaining Pokemon. Now you may be watching right now saying, hey, you didn't take that thing off the list that you mentioned this criteria, and you'll be right. That was mostly done on purpose. First up is Slowking. Slowking should have been eliminated when I mentioned regional forms and split evolutions, but I kept Slowking in to really see how far I could take it. I mentioned earlier its counterpart Slowbro already has a Mega Evolution, and it always felt weird that Slowking didn't as well. In fact, when I was getting into Pokemon, it was right as Kalos was really coming out, and I thought that he was going to get one as well. I believe that technically Gothitelle and Reuniclus are counterparts, but I decided to keep them in because I was curious as to where it was going to go as well, but when we get to our next step, we're going to see what happens with them. Dragalge and Klotzer are counterparts as well, but they're different enough from each other. They're not like the same type or anything, so I feel like it could be justified that they both have a shot, albeit they'd have to go together. So now bear with me as I eliminate a few more Pokemon. Next, I took a look at every existing Mega Pokemon. I wanted to see what the most common types were to ensure I wasn't including too many of those if possible. And what I found was really interesting. Among every type in Pokemon, which one do you think has the most Mega Pokemon? If you answered with the Dragon type, you'd be wrong, because the answer is actually Psychic. There are 10 Mega Psychics and 9 Mega Dragons, so I really wanted to try and keep that out as much as I can, so I am actually going to eliminate every Psychic Pokemon from contention. I then noticed a bigger discrepancy in the Mega community. Bug, Electric, Ghost, Grass, Ground, Ice, Poison, and Rock all have less than 4 Mega Pokemon, and oftentimes those types are shared. I decided to make my 13 that we would raise it up so that every type has at least 4 Megas. So let's now take it one by one and declare who our 13 Mega Pokemon are going to be. If you made it this far in the video, please, once again, please do leave a like. I greatly appreciate it. This took me a long time to put together, and I'm very excited to share with you what the results of our research gave us. Let's start with the Bug type. The bug types that are still on the board are Ariados, Masquerain, Vespiquen, Yanmega, Scolipede, and Crustle. I think it really comes down to 2 different Pokemon, and I actually couldn't make the decision myself. I think stats-wise, Scolipede is far superior. It's got the ability Speed Boost, it's got some great stats attributed to it. However, the idea that Vespiquen becomes a big queen bee with a lot of little combies kind of swarming around her, I think that'd be kind of cool, so I'm going to leave it up to the comments. Which one would you rather get the Mega Evolution? Ariados and Masquerain feel kind of strange. Crustle, I think, is a long shot. I think most people really don't like Crustle. And Yanmega, he'd be called Mega Yanmega, and his thing would be called the Youngmegaite, and I don't think they're going to go for that. That sounds really strange. The Electric type is especially interesting, because I eliminated almost every Electric type Pokemon. However, we still have 3 on the board. The first one I've chosen is Heliolisk. He's an electric and normal bipedal lizard, but I could see him evolving into more of a Dilophosaurus, maybe gaining either the poison or a dragon type. I think that'd be kind of cool. I don't think gaining a poison type gives an electric type Pokemon any benefits defensively, but I think that it has the possibility to be a really cool design. The other one I would do would be Lantern. The Magnemite family just kind of got blessed with Sandy Shocks a couple months ago, but Magnezone really got nothing, which is the only reason he was still here. However, Lantern is in dire need of something good. I personally think it'd be kind of interesting to maybe give Lantern an ability that acts as both water and Volt Absorb simultaneously, if that's possible. I don't think they'd ever do that, but I think the cool thing about Lantern is that as of right now, he forces you to predict, is he Water Absorb or is he Volt Absorb when you attack him? And if when you evolve you know he's going to be one or the other, you can kind of just get rid of that. The other option, I guess, is you change him to be a water ground type and keep him having Water Absorb, or you give him Sap Sipper when he Mega Evolves so that he really just kind of has no weaknesses. Lantern for sure needs a stat boost to stay relevant. I could see them leaning into like an evil anglerfish vibe, maybe even give him some teeth. Do I even have to talk about the ghost type? It's Aegislash. Everyone knows it's Aegislash. It's the only answer. I don't especially know what they'll do design-wise, but I think I figured out what stat distribution I want for him. I think it's to become a more offensive type of wall, if that even makes any sense. His normal stat distribution is an assortment of 50s and 40s, but I want to kind of change it around to become 60, 160, 140, 50, 140, and 50, equaling 600, which would be exactly 100 more points, which is what Mega Pokemon get. Especially if you change it from stance change to something like sharpness maybe, and you give it ceaseless edge, I think that would be insanely good. Now there are plenty of grass types in the field, but I am going to use my grass token on Chestnut. As much as I love Roserade, the fact that Ash Greninja has been allowed to exist for as long as it had with nothing for Chestnut or Delphox is kind of absurd. I think you could give Chestnut a Mega, maybe let him become a huge knight with insane defenses. My personal favorite idea, it might be a little too busted and maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. Give him a giant spiky wall of grass and steel, make him part steel type instead of fighting type, and maybe give him something like heat proof while you're at it. I think that would make him kind of fun. If it wasn't all obvious, I chose Chespin as a younger individual. I just like that boy. In that same vein, I know I said nothing for psychic types at all, but if we give one to Chestnut, we therefore have to give one to Delphox as well. It's just required. I have no idea for Delphox other than maybe giving it the fairy type instead of psychic. But again, no ideas what they'll do for Delphox, but if we're giving one to Chestnut, it has to go to Delphox as well. It can't be left out in the middle of nowhere with nothing. And here's the one that everyone fights over all the time, the ground type. We got some heavy hitters in here, like Flygon, Gliscor, Mamoswine. But unfortunately, for Flygon stands, I'm not choosing it. Because I'm choosing Diggersby. Stop! Okay, hold on. Look, Diggersby's from Gen 6. It's currently a normal and ground type. It's got huge power, so its stats are a little bit misleading. And Diggersby's got those big ol' ears with kind of fists on top that uses to dig, so hear me out on this one. We make Diggersby a ground and fighting type like Great Tusk. We let him keep huge power. We boost his attack to like 110 or something like that, something crazy high that when you double it becomes just insane. And then we just let him go to town. We let him go have fun. He's a fun dude. Look at him. He needs something. Look at this guy. Look at him. They don't like you. I know they don't. I know they don't, my dude. But look, once you get your Mega, you're going to be super cool. You're going to be super cool. That's my boy. I know, Flygon doesn't get his chance to shine in this. And I'm not saying I wouldn't like a Mega Flygon. I just feel it in my bones that Mega Diggersby's coming. And it actually makes me kind of excited because I would love for Mega Diggersby to happen. The ice type's kind of lame. There's only a handful of options, being Mamoswine, Vanillix, Beartic, and Cryogonal. Mamoswine's already good enough. He does not need a Mega form. So if they're going to choose one for the sake of giving him a Mega, I'm going to go with Beartic. A big polar bear would be cool, you know? And unfortunately, there aren't many more Kolosian ice types because Avalugg already has a Hisuian form, and he's not the only one. If I take that thing back, then this thing has to come with it, which fills that hole. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. The second ice type is Aurorus.
But Ethan, Aurorus isn't on your list anymore!
Yes! However, I mentioned earlier that we needed a rock type Mega. And I never said I couldn't take things back out when they fit a niche. And a niche this is. If we take out Aurorus, we are required by law to also take Tyrantrum back out. Tyrantrum's type, Rock and Dragon. So we give Aurorus a Mega. Maybe we give Aurorus an ability that sets the Snow and Aurora Veil at the same time. I think that'd be kind of cool. And then Tyrantrum comes in and maybe he's got Mold Breaker. I don't know. Something to stop that. Give the dude a bunch of fighting type moves. And then we can just mess with their types, or maybe not. We can leave it for cool points, either or. I don't know. But I think that Aurorus and Tyrantrum fill a void in the Megas, which I think would be kind of cool. For Poison type, we also need two. And I can think of no cooler mon to get a Mega than my boy Crobat. He's the coolest cat on planet Earth. Or should I say he's the coolest bat on planet Earth. He can boost his attack from 90, which is kind of low, actually, now I'm thinking about it. Those brave birds are hitting, and Crobat's stock is through the roof, baby. Let's go. And for my last 2 Pokemon, I'm going with another pairing. A poison and a water type. I love Dragalge, and Clawitzer needs help as well. Giving them a Mega is just what they need to become great. As of right now, Dragalge is what I would call good, and Clawitzer is what I would call booty cheeks. They're so underrated and so underappreciated as Pokemon. I think that getting a Mega is just what they need to become useful. Because you know what? Like, let's just give Clawitzer 170 special attack with Mega Launcher. Maybe give him a new, like, signature pulse or a move or something. And you just buff Dragalge's defenses and make him really good in Trick Room or something. I don't know. Make them cool. They're cool Pokemon. And they go together and they have nothing to show for it in the game. In addition to these 13 Pokemon I've already mentioned, I also subscribe to the idea that we're going to be seeing Snivy, Scorbunny, and Piplup as our starters. None of them have Megas, 2 of them relate to France, and 1 fits just because the others don't. Also, I really just don't want Incineroar to get anything. I hate Incineroar. And you know what? Mega Charizard Z. It's happening. We know it's happening. I'd be remiss if I did not mention that I do think that Xerneas and Yveltal are going to get a form of some kind. We already have a 100% complete form for Zygarde, which is old news at this point, but I think that we're going to get something related to Xerneas and Yveltal as well. Kind of like a primal form, or an origin form, or a Therian form. I don't know. So there we have it. That's exactly who is getting a Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Legends ZA. I know you guys are probably upset about Flygon, so if you are upset about Flygon, do me a favor, boost my algorithm, and type in the comments how mad you are that I did not include Flygon. But also don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you don't leave a like on the video, I'm going to be upset. And you don't want to see that. Let me know who you want to get a Mega, and with that being said, my name is Ethan, this is HardCap Games, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.